So hi, I'm good, and I'm here to show you how the changes to physical damage on gear, changes to the ranger tree, changes to how evasion works, all kind of really modified two of my characters pretty heavily. So this is my Puncture build, and I did a video about him a while back. I kind of liked using him at the time, but his damage was pretty weak because of the abysmal chance to hit. It was really pretty unreliable. Not quite as unreliable as my Wander, who is actually a lot more reliable now, but he wasn't the most reliable, and Puncture didn't really do enough damage, so the DOT really didn't do enough damage to really justify it being a DOT. Overall, it didn't really work out that way. So, accuracy was changed, so he has a much higher chance to hit now. Evasion was buffed, so his defenses, even though they're the same as they used to be, he has a much higher chance to evade. I think he used to have a 30% chance to evade, but now he has like a 40% chance to evade. So, yeah, it's a nice little bonus. Also reworked the skill tree a little bit because he got a free respec, so I spec'd out of Iron Grip, and I'm instead using the Iron Grip support gem. I also spec'd out at the skill duration nodes because Puncture lasts for 5 seconds, and I think if you need to get an extra 50% duration on Puncture, the DOT isn't doing enough damage to begin with, and I don't think it's... I think it's a better idea to invest into more damage nodes in these skill duration nodes for like a more damaging Puncture instead of a longer lasting one. So I also got piercing shots, so he has about a 100% chance to pierce now without projectile weakness. So the character got changed a little bit, but also how physical damage works on gear and stuff got changed, and the Puncture gem also got buffed as well. So Puncture does more damage, and it also has an increased physical damage mod on it, which really buffs up the damage. It didn't have that before. Before I respec'd this guy, the patches alone gave him a 50% damage boost. Like, it was pretty absurd buff for this character. So physical damage now scales with the passive tree nodes. So these 15% increased physical damages now actually apply to item damage, or item physical damage, as well as Iron Grip also applies to item physical damage. So physical damage on items applies, yeah, you get a lot more out of it than you used to. So that's how this guy was changed. It also has really far-reaching effects with a Facebreaker Build. So my Facebreaker Build is now really, I think it's pretty broken. So this guy got a pretty big buff, and Puncture is now fairly powerful. I think there's a really strong build out there that could use Puncture right now. So Puncture is now viable to use for more than just trying to make it work, because it actually does pretty good damage now. And on to the Facebreaker guy. Where is... there we go. So Facebreakers were reworked, and also new items came out. So the Bringer of Rain didn't exist when I made my Facebreaker build. I was using the Abyssus before.
What?
Just clear out my inventory. Oh. So, as this is a Facebreaker build, obviously I want to equip a sword. You know, just because. For no particular reason, really. Oh yeah, if you're using the Bringer of Rain, your chest piece can still level up gems. So you can use a chest, it's like some garbage 6-socket chest, and level up 6 gems while you're using the Bringer of Rain. So it doesn't actually remove the leveling gem slots. So evasion and resist. So this guy got a very big buff. Previously, without frenzy charges, I think he had like 1,000 DPS with the Facebreakers. And now with a garbage sword, he has 5,000. So he got a little bit of a buff. So, you know, this guy works pretty well. Fight to the death, you two. So, without using some garbage weapon, because that's just like a really fast sword, without even frenzy charges, he now has more DPS than he had single target before. So, previously with 8 frenzy charges and without melee splash, he had about, I think, 8 or 9,000 DPS. With Bringer of Rain and melee splash, he now has more than that without any frenzy charges at all. And with frenzy charges, oh my damn. He has 24,000 damage. So it's kind of a lot. And I understand why Facebreakers, apparently they're getting a nerf soon. Because something like this shouldn't be possible. I thought it was pretty decent before, but because of how all the physical damage and stuff now scales, because now these nodes provide a whole lot of increased damage. And yeah, because of how it scales, because of the Bringer of Rain, this build became completely whacked out. Like, I feel it's overpowered, and this is comparing it to something like, I don't know, like a Spork Totem build or something like that. Which everyone kind of feels is like that's pretty overpowered as it is. But this guy does physical damage, so he even hits really hard. So 2,000 to 3,500 damage. So he basically has 100% damage penetration as well. So this, I feel, is kind of one of the reasons why Facebreaker is being nerfed, because a build like this shouldn't be possible or reasonable to do, because this guy's pretty much broken. And because of how this build basically works, you know, I keep Immortal Call up at all times, so I have physical damage immunity, I have a ridiculous block chance and evade chance, and a chance to dodge, so 46% chance to dodge, 30% chance to evade, it's like 5,000 evasion, 35% chance to evade, 46% chance to dodge, 61% chance to block. So most attacks don't really even do damage if they do any at all, because I have Mortal Call up. So basically anything outside of minus max or elemental weakness map, which I should really get a Sapple's Frame in my offhand to deal with that. But this character is basically immortal as far as I can tell. And the damage he does is completely absurd. So yeah, I don't feel that Facebreakers being nerfed is really that big of an issue, because right now I think they're pretty broken. At least with this sort of setup. I'm sure there are other Facebreaker builds that might not get as strong or whatever. Might not hit quite as hard as this guy does, but yeah. This is what Patches does, and this really kind of is one of the great things about Path of Exile. It's a game that evolves and changes all the time, and like some builds that previously didn't work can work. So like now we're in like the time of the discharge builds, where everyone plays a discharge because discharge is really powerful, and maybe some other items or uniques or something will come along and change the build and really freshen up how the game's played, so not everyone is playing a Spark Totem build or something like that. So yeah, this is really what the patches can do, though. Small changes can have really, really powerful effects for certain builds. So even though if something doesn't work, don't count on it never working, because it could work in the future. So I'll see you next time.